Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Are You Sitting Comfortably on East London Radio? That's ELR.
Here we are.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, yes.
I'm very glad.
Yeah, how are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely fine. I'm equipped with a tea of a mystery flavour. I don't know what. We do this round the back of a little coffee shop called All You Read Is Love.
It makes it sound like we're in some alleyway somewhere, like hidden in a corner, round the back of a coffee shop. You know.
It's a pirate radio station. Yeah. We just sat there with a big aerial and a laptop. Yeah. No, they do some lovely teas, and I usually ask for a tea of their choosing because there's just so much choice. I can never reach one by myself. We watched some movies this week, did we not, Scott?
Well, as we always do.
As we do. One of these days, we're going to come in and review tinned foods.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you like.
Just to spice things up a little.
Ooh.
I'll go for tuna. How about meatballs?
I was thinking more kind of peaches, tinned peaches.
Tinned peaches. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
In
curveball there.
Yeah, you know, in their own, in juices. I don't want them in like syrup. They've got to be in juice.
With rice pudding. Not in the same tin,
That would be
obviously.
a weird
in the
tin,
same
wouldn't
bowl.
It?
Yeah. Anyway, we saw some movies.
Back to the movies. Yes. Crashing on.
We saw dumb action movies.
Yes.
So we thought we'd start the show in a dumb way. No,
nice catch. Good cover.
Yes, so two dumb movies. The first of which was No Escape, starring Owen Wilson, Pierce Brosnan, and Lake Bell.
Some other people.
Yes, and the other, Transporter Refueled, or rather The Transporter Refueled, starring Ed Skrein, Ray Stevenson, etc., etc.
Some other people.
That first song that we entered the show to was indeed from Transporter. The end of Transporter. It was also in the trailer. Rabid Animals by Manny Hoffman and the Leons.
Right.
I think I like that song. I think it kind of sums up the quirky daftness of the movie, really.
Swagger.
I'm not sure about the lyrics.
I don't like that word, but that movie had swag. It didn't have swagger because that's not a real thing. It swaggered as a movie. It was confident. It strutted about a bit.
Define swagger.
Confidently strutting about a bit.
But you said it's not a real thing.
Well, no, to have swagger is not a real thing. To swagger. Swagger's a verb.
Is it?
Yes.
So you can't sort of dress in a swagger-tastic fashion.
I'm going to come around there and slap you for that during the next song.
What's wrong with that, swagger-tastic? It sounds like a CBBC show, but other than that...
Yeah, it sounds like something that Keith Chegwin would say. Or possibly Cher Lloyd. I'm not sure which is worse.
Cher Lloyd?
Yeah.
What's she on these days? Is that an X Factor lady?
She's on benefits, I would imagine. Bless her. No, it was her that did that whole Swagger Jagger song.
Oh, well, I've not heard of that. I'm showing my age in that I'm thinking what I'm saying is original.
I'm several hundred years older than you, but never mind.
Several hundred years old.
Yeah,
I'm not going to ask you on air to reveal your age.
I moisturise, so you know.
But it is my birthday in less than a month.
You worried me for a second then. I thought you meant it was your birthday today, and I was
You nearly spat your lovely tea out.
Yes.
I'm asking the question throughout the show, Scott, and I'd like you to have a guess at the answer. Who said this?
I've swallowed enough microchips.
Who said that?
I've swallowed enough microchips.
Who's swallowed enough microchips?
I've swallowed enough microchips.
Any ideas?
No. He sounds like an East London Cockney.
Yeah, it's not nobody from EastEnders this week after Phil Mitchell last week.
But
I can see your reasoning there.
So it wasn't that EastEnders episode that involved all the high-tech espionage and stuff.
No, that's true. Actually, the actual context of the quote, I suppose, helps you narrow it down, at least away from EastEnders. If you know the answer to who said...
I've swallowed enough microchips.
Ooh, he got a bit louder, though. He's getting closer.
If you know the answer, do tweet us at ELR Comfortably, or use the Facebook page, facebook.com/ELR Comfortably. And, of course, if you missed last week's episode where we played a short clip from EastEnders... you can listen to that at mixcloud.com/Roobox.
It's worth noting that there were other things we talked about last week. It wasn't just 20 seconds of EastEnders and then silence for the other 45 minutes.
No, absolutely. It was about Legend and Tom Hardy.
Yes, talking to himself.
Talking to himself?
Yeah. Well, you played twins, so he was talking to himself.
Well, he wasn't really talking to himself, though.
Well...
He would have been, when he was doing it, he would have been talking to another chap pretending to be himself, pretending to be him.
So he was pretending to be a Cray twin... and talking to someone pretending to be him, pretending to be a Cray twin.
Absolutely. covered in
jam,
wearing a bright green suit with little ping pong balls all over. That's what I imagine to be the case. Or Andy Serkis. Perhaps it wasn't Tom Hardy at all.
It was just Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He is a very, very talented man.
We're going to talk about
all sorts of crap. I've got a feeling this is going to be one of the weirdest shows we've done so far.
We're going to talk about No Escape very shortly. But first, let's play Cuckoo by Marco Beltrami and Buck Sanders from the official No Escape soundtrack.
Go on, then.
Here it comes. Any minute now. Ooh. I think it starts off slowly. Here we are. It's very intense, you see. It's a white knuckle ride.
I'm braced. I'm ready.
How uncomfortable are you feeling, Scott?
It's a little... yeah.
It is.
Is it meant to be?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
It's a terrifying movie. Would you not agree? You don't, and I don't wholeheartedly either. No. But it did scare me in places, and not in a little children wearing makeup, kind of running through corridors way. No, in a actual sort of realizing how delicate and fragile my human body is sort of way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were we watching
looking
different
at me
movies?
Strangely, no.
You do have a very delicate and fragile human body. I've noticed.
Well, thank you very much. I'll take it as a compliment. I assume it is. So what was your... yes, it's probably... Sorry, before we get going, it's probably time for one of our almighty 30 seconds
flip
countdowns, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we haven't discussed who's doing No Escape.
Would you like to do it, or shall I do it?
I'd like to have a go.
All right, then.
No, I'd rather do Transporter.
All right, then. I'll do this one, you do Transporter.
All right.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1...
Okay, Owen Wilson and his family go to Asia, which is apparently a country now, for a job. And as literally 10 minutes after they arrive, everything goes a bit wobbly, and the whole country has a big kind of uprising, and they're caught in the middle of it, and they're just trying to escape, hence the name No Escape, because they can't escape. And horrible things happen, and it gets very scary and tense.
Now, you rushed through that last bit there, but horrible things do happen. I was terribly surprised at how dark it got, how apocalyptic it got. Somebody online said that it's basically a zombie movie, but you've swapped the zombies for Asians, so it's a little bit racist.
Is that racist? Well,
as you pointed out, in that Asia is just one big magical country in this movie.
Yes, and the Prime Minister of Asia gets shot at the beginning.
But why? Nobody knows.
Well, I can tell you why the film thinks it happened.
Oh, go on.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
According to the film, the government makes a deal with the American company. This is all expositioned by...
Very briefly.
Pierce, I'm not James Bond anymore, honest Brosnan, despite playing a secret agent in this film too.
I think you'll find that is a little bit of a...
Oh.
Spoiler. Sorry.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
I wonder where you're going with that. Yeah, so, sorry, spoiler horn, Pierce Brosnan plays an aging secret agent, or some kind of clandestine figure.
I think he comes across as quite a young gun in this movie. I wouldn't say...
Really?
I wouldn't say he comes across as old or decrepit in any sense.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No, I think that in Die Another Day, you were thinking, oh, he's getting it for James Bond. He's getting a little wheezy, isn't he? A bit like, oh, Saved by the Bell, and all that innuendo. No, that's not innuendo. If that was, that'd be a worrying scene.
Oh, yeah.
But no, in this, he seemed sort of, age is just a number and all that. Okay, he had grey hair and
he was a bit grizzled.
I
like that
a bit
word.
Grizzled, but he had a young attitude, I think, and he pulled it off.
Well, yeah, he was just getting drunk and well, the thing that makes you think, oh, he's still playing James Bond, is that he's doing something slightly naughty in the country of Asia.
Yes.
And when he's not doing that, he spends his time getting hammered and having sex with a lot of ladies. So it's pretty much.
Well, the thing is, he could come across as a little typecast because I haven't really seen him in much that he's not revealed to be something more than he is, like a double agent or something. Except for Mamma Mia, I'm assuming in Mamma Mia he's not playing a secret agent.
Maybe. Well, perhaps it's not overtly mentioned, but perhaps his motivation throughout the whole thing, he might be I haven't actually seen Mamma Mia.
Neither have I.
But
what about the one with Aaron Paul as well? I can't remember. It's something like This
Breaking
Long
Bad.
Road or...
never even heard of that one.
I don't quote me on that title, but it was advertised on posters, as movies tend to be. And I thought, he doesn't look like a spy in this movie. So that was refreshing.
Oh, good.
So this whole conversation is meaningless.
Well, shall we go home?
No, so James Bond.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
Pierce Brosnan in No Escape. He's a bit of a, what do you call it?
Naughty person.
No. When characters get into trouble and then the Eagles come along in The Lord of the Rings.
Deus Ex Machina.
Yes, I'm going to let you pronounce that for the rest of time.
It's either Machina or Machina, and I'm never sure which.
Well, he is that.
He is that.
As soon as things and things do get very dark and dangerous.
Yes.
As soon as things become like...
As
like
soon as you get to that
death.
kind of, flip, there's no way out of this.
Pierce Brosnan pops up.
He does pop up, yes.
And literally, he just pops up.
Yeah.
There's no explanation.
Apparently
no
Asia is also very small, as well as now being one country.
Yeah.
It's small enough that you bump into Pierce Brosnan every 10 minutes.
Who is meant to be undercover.
Yeah.
And not interacting
quite.
with these little families who are just struggling through this civil war.
Fannying about, yes. Oh, that was what we were talking about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, so they killed the Prime Minister.
Yes, because the government and an American company had made a deal where the American company was going to come in and run all of the water provisions for this country. Like, they were going to, the processing plants and all that were going to be run by the Americans. And the people of the country were angry about this because the Americans were just going to screw them over. This big corporation was just going to screw them over and charge them far too much for basic stuff like water. Pierce Brosnan's job was to be part of setting that up in the first place, and then to get out. Owen Wilson's job, he seems to have just blindly applied for this job, working in this company, and has gone there with absolutely no research on what he does or what anything around him is about. It's a little bit frustrating, that bit, but we'll come back to that in a minute. And then the people of the country are very angry about this because they have no water and soon no money. And so they...
But not everybody.
Well,
it's just this group of red scarf wearing rebels.
But they seem to. But they are everywhere. This film has them pretty much. Oh, hello. Has them everywhere, and they seem kind of. It's like the whole country, apart from a few, has risen up and has shot everyone else, and is now this thing. And it's very weird in that they kill the government, the Prime Minister, and then they just seem to go on this massive riot through the city, blowing up anything they can get hold of, including the American embassy, which, fine, fair enough, if it's the Americans they're angry at.
But they could at least have timed the explosion a little better. They were just walking down the front steps out of the what do you call it, the lobby area.
Yeah,
and it blew up behind them.
I think Frank, the guy who set the bomb, he could have he dropped the ball on that one a little bit.
Frank?
Yeah.
Did he?
Some
is that an Asian name? Frank?
Yeah, why not? You're being racist now.
No, I'm not. Not being racist.
Well,
the film's far more racist than that.
Well, yes. Anyway, so yeah, and then this riot that just seems to be everywhere and always and like one of the rebels is chasing them because they're American, and they struggle to catch a break throughout the whole film.
But you see, I thought that was one of its strengths. The movie was relentless. Occasionally, you'd have a rest moment where they thought everything was fine. For instance, okay, so we agree that the best parts of the movie are...
the first third.
Yes, set in the hotel that this family arrives at.
Yes.
And that's all in the trailer. Well, it's not all in the trailer, but it's glimpsed in the trailer.
Quite a bit of it's in the trailer.
But I was lucky enough not to have watched the trailer before I went in, so I didn't really know what to anticipate other than what Cineworld told me on their mobile app.
It's weird that you say that, because I've sat next to you while that trailer's been on 2 or 3 times watching movies earlier in the month. Yeah. It's just passed through your head.
Clearly, I can't remember. But I tell you, the bus posters and movie posters and everything with the hideous font made me think all along that this was some sort of B movie, like just straight to DVD. You know, I think they need a better designer, because it was that horrible kind of in-your-face yellow, bold...
For me, it was pretty much a B movie. It was entirely forgettable. There was nothing...
But there wasn't any sort of gratuitous CGI effects. I thought it was very gritty. And leading up to this in the hotel and everything, the pacing of that was perfect. I thought, because the death and everything, all the killing was so very real and detailed. And I think what made that more shocking was the contrast between the killings and the fact that this family had 2 very small daughters with them.
Yeah.
At some point, they reach the roof. of the hotel.
That happens every time I reach the roof as well.
in an attempt to escape the terrorists, insurgents, whatever you want to call them, and things go a little
Tits up.
Tits up, yes, as anticipated. But that moment there was a rest moment. They don't come very often, and Owen Wilson it says that they've got to remain 10 steps ahead all the time. And as the film is closing, his wife reminds him of this, and we're reminded, and we think, good Lord, we haven't really had time to breathe. This has been endless. And yes, he has to stay 10 steps ahead. He can't give up now, otherwise he definitely will die, and probably should have done if it wasn't for Pierce Brosnan already.
I agree, but then you touch on the Pierce Brosnan thing. It's like, it does seem like, we've got to stay 10 steps ahead. Oh, bum, we're a bit screwed. Oh, look, there's Pierce Brosnan. Off we go again. And then it did seem like whoever'd written this movie had pretty much, like we say, used Pierce Brosnan whenever they got into a particularly sticky situation.
Yes. Get Pierce Brosnan out.
Yeah. As soon as it got too dark, and they were like, oh, how are we going to finish this? Because we've still got 45 minutes of the movie left to go. I know. Pierce Brosnan can pop up again.
But when we say dark, I hope people realise we mean dark. Like, well, it's surprising. Didn't you find it surprising? Especially in a film with child actors. I mean, what are the... you've got all kinds of, like, rape, for instance, not all kinds of rape. Well, I mean, you've got a general rape in there. And these kids are going to be like, Mummy, Daddy, when do we get to watch our movie that we were in?
And yeah, and they'll say, on your 18th birthday, love.
Exactly.
Yeah, Sterling Gerrans and Claire Gear apparently were the two girls. Although you made a comment straight after we saw it, how you kind of found them interchangeable, and they could have done the whole thing with just one daughter rather than two. Well, they could have left one behind, like thrown one to the rebels.
Yeah, and considering how dark it got, I think that if you started off with two daughters, you could have afforded to lose one, because it wasn't going to get any darker than it already was in some places.
No, that's
you could have lost Sterling Jennings, because all she did was, I mean, she was just causing trouble from there. She was in the pool when all this was kicking off. Owen Wilson had to run all the way back down the stairs to grab her. And she could have fallen down the building when they were throwing each other across, which is again another spoiler. And then that really would have raised the stakes, because now we know people can die, and Pierce Brosnan isn't always going to be there to save the day.
Well, possibly, but then, I think it was dark enough. I don't think killing a child was necessary on top of what we'd already seen. Although I was kind of pleased that I was braced for the kids to be... like, there would be a point where they had to stay very quiet to avoid being captured, and one of the kids was going to scream or cry.
That didn't happen.
And it didn't, and I was really pleased about that.
Yeah, I will say that these two child actors in this movie, far better, far more convincing than the two we saw in Jurassic World.
Yes.
Better at acting scared in a genuinely scary situation, rather than, oh, I just want to be with my brother even though there's an enormous lizard chasing us. Like, that wouldn't be more of a preoccupation for you right now.
I think yeah, I can see that, definitely. And I think and there was also another trope that they touched on but didn't stick to happily, was the younger daughter having a teddy bear and it getting dropped as they were getting chased away. And rather than running back for it and risking his life, parents...
he did try.
Well, yeah, but not very hard. And then the parents just went, you know what, screw it, we'll buy you another one, keep going. And that, for me, was nicely real. It wasn't like, no, we've got to get Mr. Bear. They were just like, just run! Just keep running, there's men with guns! Ah!
Considering how dark the movie got in places, though, I was anticipating the lead Asian man to approach the daughter later in the movie with a gun to the teddy's head. I was really waiting for that moment.
Really?
Yeah, because he would have known it was her teddy.
That's oddly parodic.
What do you mean? Parodic?
Like, as in parody-esque. As in,
yeah, but like, I thought...
Come here or the bear gets it.
After the second Pierce Brosnan convenient appearance, I thought, right, well, the teddy bear's going to show up, surely.
But happily, no.
It didn't.
No.
Yeah.
What?
It's probably time for some music.
Do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
After which, we'll move gradually into Ed Skrein.
Ooh.
And
we'll take it slow.
And the Transporter. This is, again, Marco Beltrami and Back Sanders, 007812.
007-812.
I hadn't noticed that. Did you think that's on purpose?
Nah.
All right. So what's our summary, Scott, of...
God, that disappeared quick. What happened there?
Well, a lot of the characters disappeared quick. Would you have rather there have been an escape from this movie, or are you quite content with being barricaded in by the staff at Cineworld and having no escape? What's your summary? What's your overall opinion? Are we delegating it, relegating it to the ironing pile?
I wouldn't even put it on the ironing pile.
You wouldn't?
No.
I think actually you'd have to pay more attention. To catch the explanation about the water and all the rest of it. I was in the bathroom at the time.
Well, yeah, you were.
Luckily,
you
filled me in.
You bought a Tango Ice Blast and then spent the rest of the movie running to the toilet and back. Let that be a lesson to everyone.
It was quite intense. I felt like Owen Wilson.
Is that the Ice Blast or the movie?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I felt like Owen Wilson running to the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised at him actually. He's usually a comic actor, isn't he? But he was pretty darn good in this as a stressed man.
I found it too. It was trying a little too hard for me. I found the brilliance of and the tension built up in the first third, where the mother is like barricading the hotel door, and the people who've just killed someone across the corridor are coming for her, and that I found that brilliantly paced, brilliantly tense, and then the second act sagged, and Pierce Brosnan being there as a convenient, it really kind of ruined it for me. It was doing so well up to that point. It
became sort of as though John Eric Dowdle, director, was asking himself, how horrible can we make this? What horrible things can we do? Rather than actually, let's give these characters some depth so that what does happen to them at least has us bothered about them. It was more of a what would I do in this situation rather than caring about Owen Wilson, don't you think?
I'd never thought of it like that, but yeah, why not? Yeah. I'll go with that. But yeah, I found the first third let down by the rest of the movie. The first act was brilliant. After that, it kind of went a bit wobbly for me.
We're asking the question, who said?
I've swallowed enough microchips.
Who said?
I've swallowed enough microchips.
If you know the answer, at ELR Comfortably on Twitter and facebook.com/ELR Comfortably, let us know.
Please do.
Any ideas, Scott?
I think I can place the voice, but I have absolutely no idea what film it's from.
Well, we're going to review the Transporter Refueled very shortly. Oh. This is Legacy by Alexandra Azaria. Alexandra, I like the twinkly bit, though. The twinkly bit was good. He did all the soundtracks for the other Transporters as well. So he's about the only carryover from the old movies. I haven't seen the old movies, but there may have been mentions of bits and pieces from them. Except this isn't a prequel. This is a reboot. They've forgotten the old movies. This is brand new.
Okay.
What did we think?
It was all right. Yeah, I preferred this one to No Escape, to be honest.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm going to give you 30 seconds of what happens in
your turn.
The Transporter Refueled.
Are you ready?
No, not at all.
Tough, go!
Ed Skrein has no facial expressions, and he spends the movie driving about, helping people who are committing crimes escape those crimes, except he gets dragged in to a situation with 3 blonde ladies, but they're not really blonde, they're brunettes, who have done something dangerous with somebody he previously worked with in a transporter-type scenario. So, in order to get through this situation and rescue his father, who have been kidnapped by the blondes, he has to betray this old partner, and of course chaos ensues and he risks certain death. Oh. That was quite good for no rehearsal.
Well done. Do you rehearse your 30 seconds?
No, I don't. It just flows out my face.
Wow.
Like vomit.
Oh.
But in radio form.
That's not...
That should be our tagline for the show.
Like vomit in radio form?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you vomiting? Are you...
Vomiting audibly?
2 guys, 1 mic. That should be the...
Gross.
So, yes. I didn't like The Transporter. I would have rather have sat through No Escape again.
Wow.
Than watch The Transporter Refueled. Perhaps if we were treated to a little more shirtless Ed Skrein, I wouldn't have minded.
It was rather lacking on the male nudity, considering how many women there were dancing around in their pants pretty much all the way through.
Exactly, and with no enthusiasm either.
No.
If I was a heterosexual gentleman, I would have wanted a little bit more gusto in their performances.
Make it look like you mean it, love. Come on.
Exactly, and also, why must we always see is lesbionic a word?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. All right, lesbionic kisses. I'm going to Google that. Might be saying something awful.
No, not at work.
Yes, women kissing for no reason. They're on a very important secret mission, and in order to detract attention from themselves, they kiss on the dance floor together. Why? If you had two gentlemen doing that in a car obsessed movie with guns, what would happen? What would the gentlemen in the audience do? Why can't it be even keel? Get more ladies in if you shoved Ed Skrein kissing, I don't know,
Jason Statham.
Yeah, in the trailer. That'd be interesting.
That'd be the reboot. They snog and then Jason Statham fades away like Back to the Future. Like the photos in Back to the Future.
Is Ed Skrein, do you think, even though it's not a reboot, are they aiming for a Jason Statham-esque...
He's got one of those names, doesn't he? Jason Statham. Jason Statham.
Yeah, it's got too many similar sounding bits in it. Do you think he... Okay, Ed or Jason is basically my question.
Right, I wonder where you were going with that.
Who would you rather? And not in that way, although we can answer that one next.
All right. As the transporter, who would I prefer?
Yes.
I quite like Ed Skrein.
Even though he has the emotional range of a deck chair.
Yes, pretty much. He's got cheekbones. Like you say, he needed to get his top off more. I think I definitely fancy him more than I fancy
Jason Statham. Yes, exactly.
Or maybe we should pronounce his name syllable by syllable, so it's Jason Statham. That's easier to say. It's not his name, but it is much easier to say.
Sorry,
No?
I'm just searching the word lesbionic.
Oh God, stop it!
Lesbionic. Here we are. Urban Dictionary.
Right.
The lesbian version of homoerotic.
Right.
Yeah. So it's given an example here. Dude, those two girls are hugging. I see. It's a bit lesbionic. Nice. That's the example.
Two girls hugging is not lesbionic.
No, not at
It's
all.
just friendly.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's what.
And also, the word homoerotic can easily mean ladies. I mean, as well as gentlemen. It's not. Homo just means the same. It's sorry. This annoys. Words annoy me a lot.
You mean homosexual?
Yeah, it just
applies to
both
people of the same sex.
Yeah, not just men.
Yeah.
But oh well.
So where did the word lesbian come from?
I actually know the answer to that. It's a little bit of a long story. Do you really want to hear it? It's to do with the island of Lesbos.
Oh, really?
The Greek island of Lesbos, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
It's
that.
where Sappho, an ancient Greek poet and notorious lady lover, being a lady herself, either lived or was exiled to, or went to, and started a little commune of lesbianic fun times. And that's where the word comes from, I think.
Exciting. So we may as well use it.
Yeah, why not?
Sounds like a fun story behind it.
Exactly.
So is the Transporter Refueled forgettable enough for us to use the time we have to review it to talk about the origins of the word lesbian?
Apparently it is, isn't it? Yeah. It was right. Let's talk about the movie. There was.
Ed Skrein quit Game of Thrones for this.
He did, didn't he?
Yes. Not for this episode of Are You Sitting Comfortably? I mean.
It is
because if he
gold.
did, at least
Radio gold.
he didn't even show up, so that would have been a waste of time. But he should have stuck with Game of Thrones.
He could have come in. I'd have made an effort, put some clothes on.
I would have taken them off. Yes, the movie.
I got distracted. Sorry, I'm back now. Yeah, it was oddly the plans were all incredibly intricate and needed layer upon layer of preparation and timing to get right. And
spy movies are going that way. I mean, look at Mission Impossible, the latest one.
I don't want to.
No.
I already did.
There were whole scenes, and some of the best bits of the soundtrack actually are the planning music. It really gets you focusing. So I listen to this stuff while I'm trying to do an extra large squat at the gym, and it does.
I really wondered what you were.
It really gets you focusing. But the planning takes up so much time. I'm amazed people have the patience to sit through it because it gets longer and longer with each movie.
Are we talking about Mission Impossible now?
Or my squats.
Oh, your squats.
No, we're talking about Mission Impossible.
Right, so we're still not talking about the Transporter movie. But at least we're talking about another movie
but the
now.
planning in the Transporter is much the same. They're all running about, talking about how they're going to do something before they actually do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't you condense the two and have a much more intense action sequence where they are relaying the plan during the action itself? And then you've got more time to spend on character development and avoiding all the other rubbish like how to heal a gunshot wound.
Yeah, I was going to come on to this in a minute. This was very silly and one of the two silliest points in this movie. So yeah, if we put aside the very bizarre way that these things had to have been planned months in advance when they were each part of the plan was only reacting to something that happened yesterday or earlier that day or something, and suddenly they'd been they had bits of the plan in place for months or however long. If we put that aside and just enjoy it as a movie that obviously involves some incredible project management from somebody at some point, probably not Ed Skrein, as he only said like 5 words, and 3 of them were sarcastic.
Yeah,
in his "I drive cars" voice, a bit like that.
He actually sounds like a car.
Yeah.
Anyway. No, but so a lot of the planning in these movies is medical planning as well, because something goes wrong and they all have to plan how to save them.
Yeah.
And these plans were bonkers.
A little bit, yeah. It's like, oh, this girl's been shot in the stomach. She's about to die. Okay, I need you to go and collect all the cobwebs you can find around this warehouse that we're using as our base, and I need you to bring me a bag full of sugar and some tweezers and some gin.
And but for some reason they didn't douse the wound in alcohol. I was very much anticipating that.
Well, they doused the
tweezers.
They opted
for spider webs instead.
Yeah, doused the tweezers, the alcohol to sterilise them. Fine. Pull out the bullet. Okay, probably not a medically good idea, but all right. Because we said no doctors. I don't know why they said no doctors, but hey.
Because they would have to then reveal why they got shot. I always think that in movies like this.
Well,
you can't just roll up and say, "Oh, gunshot wound."
If they had enough money,
fell on my gun.
If they had enough money for, well, they were sex workers. They could have just said, "Oh, one of my clients shot me."
What? And you think they wouldn't say, "We strongly advise you speak to the police or call the police in"?
Well, maybe, but
that's what happens on EastEnders.
Well, instead, she got chucked on a couch. Someone pulled a bullet out of her with a pair of tweezers. Then he grabbed the cobwebs, covered them in sugar to sterilise them. That's a new one on me. I did not know that sugar had antibacterial qualities. And then he shoved these spider webs that have just been collected from the dirty corners of a massive warehouse into the hole, and magically the next... And then that was it. That was the surgery complete.
No, they got out a big bottle of Sillet Bang, didn't they? And
did they?
No. But that
I was going to say, did I miss that?
The amount of product placement as well in this movie.
Yes, we'll come on to that in a second as well. And yeah, and then the next scene, she's up and about as normal.
Yeah, but I mean, that happened in Prometheus as well.
Don't get me started on Prometheus. We do not have time.
She had what was it? When you get
cesarean.
Yeah, she had a big alien cesarean, and then the next she was leaping across huge cracks forming in the planet, and
utterly ridiculous.
And just letting out the occasional whimper, as though you wouldn't be comatose from such an experience.
Let's not, because I'll get really angry. Let's go back to product placement in... Yeah, it was I think, actually, that whole movie, it was a 2-hour advert for Audi. Yeah. In fact, the Transporter was the car. It was...
Yes, the car was the starring moment.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the opening credits, the camera was circling around the car and zooming in on its alloy... Is that what we call them?
Yeah,
the things on the wheels.
Yeah, alloys. Yeah. And then after the first chase scene, when like something, because the police think something is a bit iffy, and so knock on the window, and he drives off.
Yes,
then,
in
an Audi,
very James Bond fashion.
In a black Audi, off he whizzes, and then every single policeman in the city of wherever the flip they are is suddenly chasing them through the city, and as if none of them have anything better to do, and someone running away from the police needs to involve every single police car.
But also, Ed Skrein doesn't seem to give a monkeys. What's his actual character name? Frank Martin.
Yeah.
Frank Martin.
Frank or Martin
doesn't seem to give a monkeys about all the policemen he's killing. He's dodging them, like that's fine. He's not killing them himself, but they're doing barrel rolls down the freeway, smashing their skulls in on the pavement. We don't get to see it. The film does that thing where it's, the cop car is the bad guy. It doesn't let you kind of picture the father of 3 driving.
Who's just doing his job,
exactly.
Trying to stop this mentalist. But yeah, and it just... why didn't he even talk to the policeman? At that point, what were they going to do? You've just cyber robbed that bank.
I suppose that's what happens.
Yes, officer, can we help you? Yes, I've got 3 ladies who all look quite similar and are wearing very bad wigs in the car with me, but we're just off to a drag party. What's the point? And then he'd be like, all right, off you go, mate. But then, it was like, this car's too hot. We need to change vehicles.
And it was into exactly the same bloody car.
It was a black Audi that they parked next to, got out of their black Audi, got into the new one and drove off. It's like, So they've got.
I was thinking they could at least get, I don't know, like into a cement mix or an ice cream truck or something inconspicuous.
Well, Audi have several. I mean, I haven't checked, but I imagine Audi have several different kinds of car, and they went straight from one into an identical one. They could have gone for like the people carrier or the little sporty number or something, rather than the executive class or whatever it is they were in. But never mind. And Frank Senior, Frank or Martin's dad.
Yes, I like him. He was in Dexter.
Yeah, he was
played
right.
a gay gangster in Dexter.
Did he? Ray Stevenson, that's him.
Yeah.
He worked for Evian, and that was brought up quite a lot as well. But then he's at the end of the movie. Sorry, there's possibly a spoiler here. Do you want to do your horn?
Well, excuse me, just one moment while I find my horn. Yes.
Thank you. At the end of the movie, he's being quizzed by the police about what's happened.
Yes.
And he's like, I work for Evian. I was just delivering some water. And then everything blew up. I don't know what happened. And the policeman just goes, all right, and you're free to go. Yeah. It's like, doesn't bother to check with Evian whether that's actually happened.
And also, wouldn't Evian be concerned that their employee is related to all of this underworld, action?
and I'm sure that if he did actually work for Evian, he seems quite high up. He wouldn't be delivering the water himself. He'd have some minimum wage guy in an overall and a truck delivering the water.
Yes, because he's suited booted man, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not like in the warehouse carrying big crates of Evian around.
And also, this yacht that they're on, that he says he's delivering the water to, is in the middle of the ocean. I'm not an expert on boats, but usually you fill them up before you ride out. You don't wait till you're out there to get someone to bring you water.
What if you've got Amazon Prime?
Yeah, just
easy peasy
with drones, just kind of like dropping barrels of water on your boat.
Well, okay, so the Transporter Refueled.
Yes.
Do you think that it was just sort of like a teenage poster movie?
Yeah.
Do you think it objectified
definitely.
women, or do you think it empowered women? Do you think that the gentlemen were layered, in-depth caricatures of real gangsters? Or do you think that they were just invulnerable men with guns performing really terribly boring choreographed fight scenes all the way through?
I feel like that's a leading question. I think that. I mean, it was nice that the plan was the girls' plan, and that they weren't just as much as they were there for eye candy. They actually had backstory, and they at least they were empowering. They were sex workers that were empowering themselves by killing off the people that had exploited them for so long.
Compare them to the wives in Mad Max. Now, the wives in Mad Max, I felt actual sort of attachment to. They all had their own kind of individual personalities. They had backstories as well, and they had a goal. And they didn't. Once they were out of that sexualized atmosphere they had been brought up in, they didn't use their sexuality in the outside world. Whereas these girls were happily, often utilizing their obviously
boobs,
attractive lady traits to
jiggly bits,
to
fun
lure
bags.
these men into
that was still
a
part
false
of the
sense of
plan.
security.
They hadn't yet got out of the. Their plan was to use their sexuality to their advantage. So
is that empowering though, or is that objectification? Is the movie saying, "Oh, they're empowering themselves," just as an excuse for us in the audience to go, "Oh, nipples,"
in a kind of, look at those girls empowering themselves.
Exactly.
Whoa, look at the boobs on that one.
I want them to empower themselves all over my face.
Look at the arse on that well-rounded individual lady. Whoa.
Exactly. This is it. This is the problem I have.
It was a little bit kind of. It was a very, to say they were empowered women. It was a very blokey movie, certainly. And the men were just like attitude-filled, quippy, one-liner machines.
Exactly.
But it wasn't, unlike No Escape. It didn't take itself too seriously. It was fun. It was definitely aimed at a teenage market and like the aspirational cars and all that kind of toss. But at least it knew what it was, and it didn't try too hard. I found No Way Out to be a bit try hard. It was trying to make me care. It was trying to draw me in, and the first act did. I was really into that.
But then I would have said that that wasn't the point where it was really trying to push it. That was all coming off of the situation quite naturally. That was flowing.
Yeah, and it was later when the movie flagged and they were still they wanted us to still be as engaged, but they didn't. The movie didn't have the chops to make it happen.
Well, it was saturated in violent killings. It went on for perhaps just a little bit too long. In that all that violent killing, we got so used to it that wasn't enough to keep us as on the edge of our seat. So they had to conjure up absurd, kind of really dark, apocalyptic scenarios that. Then the only way out of was to bring Pierce Brosnan in. At least the Transporter didn't write itself into a Pierce Brosnan's the only way out corner.
No, I think there was a lot of what I would call Owen Wilson logic in there as well.
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's like, oh yeah, so this happens, and then. Just as he thinks it's going to be fine, bam, this happens, and then he's stuck, and then this happens, and I could kind of...
You mean Owen Wilson could sort of see which way things were going to go in his own screwed up way, whereas we couldn't really.
No, I got a
One thing he didn't count on, though, was Pierce Brosnan.
Well, that's true. I got a feeling that Owen Wilson had been a lot more involved than just starring in it. It felt...
Oh, right, yeah.
It felt like his the way he thinks, I think, to me.
Fair enough.
I don't know if is that quite a wanky statement?
No.
All right.
Well, no.
Good.
Well, my overall opinion on both of these movies, as we're nearing the end now,
We are.
is that neither of them really make any moral judgments. Owen Wilson, at one point in the movie, excuse me while I prepare my large horn.
That's not your large one. That's your little one.
Okay. Would you like a larger?
I always like a large one. Go on.
Try this. That's
Good Lord.
fairly large.
I was not prepared for one that big. Carry on.
He, at one point, actually kills a man.
He does.
He didn't anticipate that when he arrived in
No.
Asia Land. And the film doesn't comment on it. Him and his wife exchange kind of
Shocked
judgmental
glance.
looks.
Yeah.
That's it. And in Transporter, nobody's really talking about anything. It's all just, let's punch our way out of this.
Yeah, let's shoot people. Yeah.
And it's almost as though they're assuming their audience isn't capable of moral guidance, as though they don't want us to disagree with them should they arrive at one. But that's a good movie, isn't it? Because you come out the foyer going, well, I disagree with that moral judgment. Well, I agree with that moral judgment. Whereas when there's nothing there, you just think, well, that was bloody awful. That was brutal. I feel sick.
I wonder if with Transporter especially. I mean, I liked that there was the shock element between Owen Wilson and his wife in No Escape, but I just found it a little bit. It didn't go anywhere, that, and you could just tell that their marriage was pretty much doomed when if they ever survived.
Well,
then
no, I
were...
thought it got more and more doomed as it went along, which is why I felt the end was so contrived.
Yeah,
I thought that this event, no matter how much they tried, was going to tear the family apart.
Well, even from the beginning part where he's dragged this family all the way across to Asia Land without checking whether they wanted to come or not, is kind of touched upon, and then things just get slightly worse. It's like the relationship was already screwed before they got on the plane, as far as I could see. Yeah. And nothing they did, like, stuff like that, usually there's like a survival mentality. Like, when you come through it, you're bonded because you've shared this experience. I think no, not for them, not at all. It seemed bizarre.
But if you want dumb action, go and see both.
No, go and see Transporter. Don't bother with No Escape.
Go and see No Escape first, and then you'll see how lacking the Transporter is.
In fact, go and see both of
in
them.
dumb action, I mean.
And then
in
tweet
good dumb
us.
action.
Yeah, go see both of them, tweet us, and disagree with us. We like that kind of stuff.
Yes, we've been asking the question, who said?
I've swallowed enough microchips.
Who said he swallowed enough microchip?
I want to say that it was Ray Winston. That voice sounds familiar.
It wasn't Ray Winston. It was...
Bugger.
I once used defibrillators on myself. I put shards of glass in my f***ing eye. I've jumped from a high-rise building using only a raincoat as a parachute and broke both legs upon landing. And I still had to pretend I was in a f***ing Cirque du Soleil show. I've swallowed enough microchips and shit them back out again to make a computer. This arm has been ripped off completely and reattached with this f***ing arm.
I don't know that that's possible. I mean, medically.
Jason Statham.
Of course.
In the movie Spy.
Right.
Yeah. Taking the mickey out of his probably past spy movies.
Right. I was going to say that all seems pretty
far-fetched.
Yes.
Yes.
Very much so. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Spy was a comedy. So.
Oh,
But this is
that's
the
all right.
end. We have to finish. The time's up.
Bum. All right. Ta-ra then.
It's been fun. As you know, you can listen to mixcloud.com/Roobox for our full back catalogue. We'll see you next week.
We're also available on iTunes and SoundCloud.
Of course we are. Yes. This is Stop the Plane by, of course, Alexandria Azaria. It's another White Knuckle ride. See you next time.
Bye.
Join us next week for another thrilling episode of Are You Sitting Comfortably?